All right, welcome to the second hour of the Elias Macco Show, and we begin this second hour with a story from the restaurant industry. And boy, do I hear it, right, from friends that work in the restaurant business. It is a tough industry. It's tough to make a living. There's a lot of hard work. Probably the last thing you need in your life is a shakedown. Now, for one restaurant, they think that perhaps there's some business practices when it comes to payment systems and the point of sale systems in this province that could be considered a bit of a shakedown. David Ferguson joins us on the line. He's chef and owner of Restaurant Gus in Montreal's Petite-Patrie neighbourhood. David, welcome back to the program. I think we talked about something else years ago, a couple years back, I think.
Yeah, we did. I can't remember exactly what it was. Something else that was going on.
I think it was work-life balance in the restaurant industry.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what it was. So, David, you know what's interesting here? We're going to talk about the practices of a Montreal company that's very big in the restaurant industry, Lightspeed, okay? And just so you know, I mean, they say timing is everything. We actually had the president of Lightspeed, J.D. St. Martin, on the show last week, just to talk about the business and how it was doing. And then I see your story about how you've got an issue here with how Lightspeed is treating your business. Why don't you tell our listeners what's going on when we talk about payments systems and point of sale systems? What happens in the restaurant industry and how is it affecting you?
So Lightspeed provides for me not the credit card system, but the one that generates the bills and is hooked up to the Quebec famous black box, the MEV, that registers all our sales. So it's what I use to make bills for tables and get bills to the kitchen and this and that. They do our inventory. They do all of our staff punch in and out with it and everything. When I first having this paid subscription with them, they did not have a credit card processing POS. Mm-hmm. So it's a different system. Lo and behold, last month I got charged a $200 penalty because they now have a credit card processing, and I do not use it. I use Clover. And they said, well, we now see Clover as a third party, which I don't understand, and we are now going to charge you $200 a month until you switch to our credit card processing system. It's kind of confusing because POS is used for both systems.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, no. Like the equivalent would be if all of a sudden my meat supplier started selling milk and he just came in and said, all right, you have to buy my milk and if you don't, I'm going to charge you $200 a month.
It's a $200 meat surcharge because you're using a different provider.
For milk, for dairy.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so David, listen, we have someone else on the line here because we want to sort of get a full fleshed out take on what's happening here. So Bernard Prévost is on the line. He's co-founder and managing director of PayMath. That's a payments consultancy company. Bernard, welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure.
You just heard.
Happy to be here.
And you just heard what David had to say and what's happened at his restaurant.
Yes, I did.
So what's your take on this? Because, I could see the Lightspeed position here of, hey, we've got a service and, we want you to use all of our things. They want to incentivize certain things. What's your take?
Well, I think we have a lot of customers that come to us and say, hey, do you think what Lightspeed is doing is actually legal? Although I'm not a lawyer, by all means. I'm a chartered accountant by trade. What I have to say is I think it is legal. It is their system. They have terms of use, and I think Lightspeed is doing what many other POS and billing systems are doing out there. Let's take, for example, Maître D, which the owner of Gus probably knows Maître D. It was once the most popular POS system for restaurants in Quebec. The same thing happened. De facto bought Maître D. And then a few weeks, months, years down the line, they impose every restaurant owner using Maître D to then use de facto as a processor. Let's look at online, Shopify. Shopify is very popular in Canada for websites. They once were connected to all the popular gateways, Global Payments, Moneris, Clover and First Data. But now, I think it was last year, they're now imposing fees all the way up to 1% of total volume if you want to use a third party. Why are they doing this? It's money. If you look at Shopify's latest results, 74% of their sales is payment processing. So I wouldn't even call them a software company anymore. I would call them a payment processor. Lightspeed, 57% and growing is payment processing on their P&L. These are public companies. You can go see the results. It's black and white.
So, David, let me bring it back to you here on that business side of things, because you know how difficult it is to be a restaurateur. I imagine Lightspeed would say, boy, it's difficult to be in this business, and we've sometimes got to do things in order to help out our business, right? So, so where do you see that? Because I know part of this is you have a system, it's working. You don't want to train people on a new system. That must be a huge hassle. So, but do you see the other side of things, that they've got to run their own business as well?
No, I don't see their side of things. This is a totally different contract I have with another company. They have no right to tell me how to do my business. Just because they use a term like third party, well, the other company can say that Lightspeed's a third party. Anybody can call anybody else a third party because now they offer a service. Mm-hmm. And if you want to talk about it being incentivizing, I see it as thievery. They took $200 from me, and they're going to keep on taking $200 from me. That's putting a gun to somebody's head and saying, let's negotiate. No, it's crazy. And they're now even pressuring me to take. They're saying, listen, if you give me your personal financials of your company, we'll give you back $100. It's totally, and the government should be protecting us on these kind of things. As an individual, you shouldn't be forced to take whatever a big business all of a sudden decides, well, our shareholders are not making enough, our business model's not working. Imagine if you didn't eat at my restaurant one night and I saw you across the street at a competitor's and I threw $200 onto your credit card saying, hey, you could have eaten at my restaurant. No, that's not right. And and the biggest problem is this is going to be more contagion of this. If they're able to get away with this, what's going to happen next time?
David, don't you have the option of just going somewhere else? Like, why don't you just say, okay, well, now I'm going to go to another provider for everything?
Well, I could, except, again, like we have the famous black box in Quebec. So there's a hookup fee for that. Mm-hmm. There's a retraining fee. It's going to cost me at least $2,000. And why should I be having to do that? And just for another point, if I was to change to their credit card processing, they just took $200 from me in a very unethical way. Mm. Why would I hand over all of my cash processing to them, like all the money that goes through my business to them? And on top of it, they have a bad reputation for their credit card processing. It takes a long time to get the money into your account. Doesn't work well. I've heard from other restaurateurs. And so I don't want to switch to their system. Mm-hmm. I should have the freedom to choose the services for my restaurant, what suits my restaurant best.
Bernard, let me just ask you about the way that it was done, where boom, 1 month there's a $200 charge, and there's, it doesn't seem like the communication or the heads up was there. What are your thoughts on that part of it? How a company can just on the fly change the rules of the game?
Yep. They own the software. The merchants will sign up to their terms of use. Unfortunately, they are able to do that. The only way around it that we've had with customers is to help them reduce payment processing costs on their standalone terminals. Okay, like in this situation, we're using Clover plus Lightspeed, so I would help the owner reduce the processing costs on their Clover as down bare bone as possible, to then cover the fees that are being charged by Lightspeed. Uh-huh. It's kind of like a slap in the face. Like we're able to say, oh, you know what? We'll continue using the way we want to do business, and I have a partner, Paymath, that's helping us reduce these costs to be able to avoid having to use your integrated services.
And let me just point out for the both of you, David and Bernard, we did reach out to Lightspeed. Okay, one thing that they wrote back to us is that they would provide free payment terminals. They would buy out a contract. If you had to pay a termination fee, David, they say they will buy it out. They will provide on-site installation, and they say that they will match the processing rates of other companies. Now, David, you've mentioned how there's so much bad blood now because of how they did this that you would never consider them. But if they were to pay everything, if they were to eat all of those costs, does that change anything to you?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah. It's just like, what's next? Mm-hmm. Is there a loyalty program that we have to sign up to? And if we don't, we're going to get another, like they're just going to claw more and more if they're able to get away with something like this. It's not going to stop here. Look, they have better returns now because they've done this policy. Their investors are more happy because they've done this to us. Mm-hmm. And that is not a good precedent to set. It's rewarding bad behavior. And I'd rather, think about it from my perspective. They are going through all this bad press, all of this, just to keep $200. Mm-hmm. What does that say about their company? What does that say about their model? They said, well, because you're in a minority situation, we don't actually care about your business. We'll do whatever we want to it because I'm not integrated. And I'm sorry, anybody can say you need to integrate now. It's a big corporate word. It's just any other business coming into a business and doing this to us would be seen as a classic shakedown.
Beware of the buzzwords. David, I have to leave it there. I want to thank you for coming on. Bernard as well. Thank you so much for your insight.
It's a pleasure.
That's David Ferguson, chef and owner of Restaurant Gus, and Bernard Prévost is co-founder, managing director of PayMath.